Hello? Your Health is Calling, where holistic health meets practical solutions for your well being. With your host, speaker, New York Times bestselling author, Sue Kostyk, a seasoned holistic health practitioner and longevity coach. Join Sue each week to embark on a journey to uncover the root causes of your health concerns. Through a personalized approach, learn how to decode the messages your body is sending and craft natural protocols to address them. Call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A.
Good morning and welcome to Hello, Your Health is Calling. I'm Sue Kostyk. I am an integrative health practitioner. What does that mean? It means that in integrative health, we take a very non-conventional way of figuring out what is going on, what your symptoms mean. It is a combination of traditional Chinese medicine, ancient Ayurvedic medicine, and nutrition. And it's really root cause, getting to the root cause of what is going on. Symptoms mean something. You don't want to mask them. Your body is not messing up. You want to figure out why you're having that symptom so that you can rebalance yourself and get to the root cause of that symptom. Rebalance, remove, support, whatever you need to do so that those symptoms go away and not that they're just masked. So many times in conventional medicine, we're just masking the symptom and not truly eradicating what's going on. So the name of the show is Hello, Your Health is Calling. And it's all about answering the call when your health is giving you a message. When all of a sudden something isn't going the way it's supposed to go, you're feeling, whether it's your digestive system or your hormones, or just you're starting to feel some symptoms that aren't normal. And sometimes, sadly, we're being told at a certain age, you're going to start feeling different things. Things are going to start shutting down, and that's simply not the truth. So we want to get to the root cause, and the way we do it is through functional lab testing so that we can really get to the bottom of what's going on. And so we kind of started this series on, when your health is calling, what do you do? And answering the call. And last week I had a guest host because I was in Ohio and New York, picking up my daughter from college in New York City, and it was a big trek. We had to drive from Ohio to New York and pack her up and do the whole thing over again. So thankfully, my friend, mentor, and partner in crime, Pamela Chanel David, stepped in for me and started talking about answering the call and what actually happens if you really ignore it. And, you know, I always liken our bodies to a car because I think everybody can relate to your car. That check engine light goes on, all of a sudden things are lighting up all over the dashboard, and you are, all of a sudden that fear of, mostly it's the fear of a high ticket repair, but it is also the fear of something being wrong with your car. So Pamela's gonna come on as a guest in a few minutes, and we're gonna continue the conversation. And beforehand, I just want to kind of give an overview. I have been doing this podcast for over a year. They live in YouTube at the Reinvented Life Network. Hello, Your Health is Calling, obviously. And I talk so much about our bodies being one system. We are not like your systems are all created to work together in tandem, in balance. If one is out of balance with the other, then things start, happening. We start seeing those symptoms. And all of these symptoms together, working together, is how we survive. Our body has one job, and that job is to survive and live. And so, we need to make sure that everything is very well balanced and that all of your symptoms or your systems are working together. Now, when you are in stress, and I'm not just talking you get in a fight with a coworker or your spouse or partner or child or whatever, that's like external stress. Internal stress is also called oxidative stress. So if something's starting to happen in your body as well, you get that signal that there is something going on. So your body is already figuring out what it doesn't need to operate at full speed, or what's that light that comes on? It says reduced power, reduced engine power. And so when your systems aren't working in tandem, it means that something is going on. Your body is instructing the systems it doesn't really need at this moment to survive. And so it's really powering down that engine. You are operating in reduced engine power. And so typically, the first system it's going to adjust is going to be your hormones, your reproductive system, because you don't need to reproduce when you're under stress. And your body isn't a friendly place to procreate when you're under stress. And that, remember, it's not just stress. People think it's just, you're stressed out because it's a busy day. It's literally that oxidative stress, unmanaged stress, and so it starts going through the processes of what it can start lowering the power of, or shutting things down in its reproductive system, its digestion. So those are really the first two signals that you're going to get when your body is trying to reach out and call you. And if we ignore these small signals, they are signals of dis-ease. It's, I say dis-ease because your body's in dis-ease. It's not well. And we tend to stay in fight or flight when we start to ignore these small signals. We're not listening, we're not paying attention so that we can right the ship, get that check engine light turned off, do whatever you need to do. And the whole operating system just stays in reduced engine power. So, that is my intro to today, because we are going to continue the conversation about answering the call to your health. And so I want to bring on Pamela Chanel David, who is the founder of the Reinvented Life Network. She is an author, she's a speaker, she has an amazing ability to help entrepreneurs reinvent their life. She helped me incredibly when I went from corporate America into entrepreneurship, because I had no idea what I was doing. So let's bring Pamela on, and we can continue this conversation about answering the call. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good. I love your pearls.
Oh, thank you. Just a little dolled up today.
Very fancy. So last week you took over and did an amazing job talking about answering the call, and gave a
Thank
little
you.
bit of your history, what took you from point A to point B, and now you're point B to point C in another journey. And so, do you just want to give a little recap about what you talked about last week in case some people have missed it?
Yeah, I think the main thing, and I appreciate you having me back on the show, really, and continuing this dialogue, is the show is named Hello, Your Health is Calling for a reason. And the reason is that we get that, as you just pointed out, those signals, those calls, and we have a choice that we can make to either answer that call or ignore them. And I think the recap, if you will, of last week is don't ignore the calls, because oftentimes that's a natural thing for people to do. Sometimes they just don't want to know that something's wrong, to be honest. So they don't answer the call that is given to their body. And then there is that domino effect that you just described of what happens when you don't answer the call. Systems start to collapse. The whole engine isn't working as efficiently as it could. So,
Yeah. Yes. And I think that you hit a point just now that is so apparent, especially now, of people being a little bit afraid of finding out what is going on. or a mistrust of conventional medicine. Where, you go to the doctor, you explain a symptom, and there's not a lot of questions being asked. It's pretty much, oh, those are your symptoms, take this pill. And I think that, it's more about a fatigue of just having pharmaceuticals thrown left and right, a pill for every ill, if you will. Well, that rhymes.
There you go.
And and again, that fear. I think that we should address, let's talk about that fear of, oh, I'd rather not know. I mean, I fall into that sometimes as well, because I feel like if something is wrong with me, then I'm going to go to the doctor and they're not going to fix it. They're going to just tell me to take something. And knowing what I know, and again, I am not against Western medicine. It saved my daughter's life. You're going through an issue where you're doing some Western medicine things as well. Excuse me. And, I think we have to come to a point where is that fear coming from? Are we just afraid of a disease? Because I think that with all of the commercials of pharmaceuticals right now that we see every single day on television, I think that that's adding fear to people. Like, they may not even have a disease, but you see a pharmaceutical commercial and you go, oh, wait, I feel that. I might have that symptom. So it's like leading people into this dark garden path of fear. And just understanding that your body is an amazing machine. It has the ability to heal itself if you give it what it needs. And, ignorance is not bliss. It's really not. And, you know, Pamela, maybe you can comment about that as well, because I know that, not that you got yourself into such a healthy situation, and then started to ignore a few little things, but was there a little bit of fear in that, or was it just I can keep going on, feeling a little bit? What how how did you react to that?
Yeah, so actually, my story began about 10 years ago. I had a doctor's appointment. Well, it started even further than that, but 10 years ago, 11 at this point, I had a doctor's appointment, um, at which point my health was so I had ignored my health completely in place of doing everything and everything else in my life, and I put myself last. And because of that, I didn't pay attention to anything I was doing. So I just kept going every single day, thinking that nothing could really happen. In the meantime, I was morbidly obese and about to lose my life. In fact, that day of 10, 11 years ago, my doctor gave me 1 year to live at the most. And so that
Oh.
was the call that shook
Mhm.
me to my core. And at that point, I put in everything possible to reinvent, which is how the reinvented life was actually born, my health. And if I look at it where I am today with, I mean, I took everything I was eating, how I was living my life, infusing fitness, and lost 100 and close to 70 pounds,
That's
100 and I
amazing.
think 68 pounds.
Hmm.
And because of that, I started to feel so good. And I was infusing fitness in my life. And at 55 years old, from never being athletic or active in my life, I ran my first half marathon as an example. I mean, I was really at a place in my life where I felt better than I'd ever felt. So for me, there wasn't really any signs that something was wrong. It was, I just thought I got an infection, I was having teeth issues. I didn't know, I guess I shouldn't say traditional signs. I didn't know that those were symptomatic of bigger things. And lo and behold, found myself in the hospital this past December, having reinvented so much of my life, an active lifestyle, the gym 4 to 5 days a week, building muscle, working out. I mean, I was really at a point of feeling amazing.
Mhm.
To land in the hospital for an infection in my foot, which kept me there this past December 7 days, to find out as I'm there that I am I have diabetes and it has completely attacked my nervous system. About 5% of the people with diabetes have this type that attacks their nervous system. And so from December till now, the last 6 months, I have been dealing with such excruciating pain and an increasing inability to walk.
Mhm. Yep.
So I have a walker everywhere that I go. And I'm only sharing this because sometimes there are silent things or other things that are happening in your body that, as you mentioned in the beginning of the show, I wasn't really ignoring it. It was more of I didn't make that connection
Yeah.
of other things that were happening
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah. And I think that that's another reason why I love the functional lab testing, because we can go to our conventional doctor and they can run labs and they'll say, "Oh, you're fine." But sometimes you're not. And it's because they rank you on, a specific population, and it's the population that are sick. It's not the population that are well. And so
Yeah.
those ratios are based on people who are sick. So if you're below
Hmm.
those ratios, then you're great. But that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that things aren't going to start creeping in, because
That
when
is.
we do, we have terms in integrative health, and it could be a high positive or a low negative. It's because you're kind of on that cusp, and so we want to attack that now before you are in the high positive or the high negative, whatever the marker is. And again, this show is not to place fear in people. It's just an example and being vulnerable to share an experience that will help many, many people. This isn't meant to be fear mongering by any means. It's just, you know, even if oh, there's cinnamon. Even if you cannot, even if you want to continue doing function or conventional lab testing and things like that, you can still find an integrative health practitioner or a functional practitioner that will read your conventional labs and know the differences. So it's not about, there's a lot of people that are very, very busy, and they've got families and they have careers and lots of things going on. But you can't put yourself last. And as Pamela said in the beginning, when she first got that diagnosis of she had about a year to live, um, that was because she was pretty much ignoring herself versus something that was going on in her body. So my message to a lot of people, and, we kind of, when we're really young, and if there's young people listening, this is a good message for you, because when we're young, we have this kind of immortality mentality, really, that you can um, eat the bad food, drink the alcohol, stay up late, get 3 hours of sleep at night, do all those things because your body has the ability to bounce back. And the only reason it does is because you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And when you get to be my age in your 60s, then Peter doesn't have much to give anymore. So that's why you see these aging things start coming in, these aging diseases. You start seeing the high blood pressure, you start seeing the diabetes. There's a lot of senior adults that have diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and it's because of what was going on in your 20s and 30s. So the Alzheimer's, the dementia, a lot of these brain issues happen well decades before any of the symptoms start showing up. So it's really about answering the call early enough in your life so that when you get into your later years, into your 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond, that you're not going to start seeing these things settle in. So let's talk about what we can do today, no matter where you are in your health journey. And Pamela, I want to ask you too, because I know that you are starting to, do some functional lab testing. We're really trying to get to the root cause of what's going on. So what are some of the things? And I know you've done a lot with your blood sugar. So let's talk about that. What can people do right now today if they're starting to hear the call?
Well, what I find and what is actually very exciting to me is exactly what you were saying. This isn't to instill fear into people. This is just to be very realistic that fear is often a reason why people choose not to
Mm-hmm.
address things with their health. And the exciting part to me is that if you do feel that, that's okay. It is normal to feel that fear, but is lean into that fear and figure out what can you do about it. And there are so many more options today for people. And that's what I love. And that's what I would want them to take show is that there are many, many more options and a combination of things that people can do. For me, one of the first things I had to address is get this blood sugar under control.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately through insulin and other medications, I've been able to do that at a
Mm-hmm.
level that
Yeah.
it's incredible. But what I love is that there's options for me. And through these functional lab tests, which is really getting more to the root of testing what really is the reason and what can then be done, and more natural options for people, I find it very exciting. And we often go through these seasons in our lives, no matter how difficult they are, so that we can elevate, we can level up our frequency. And that's what I have found that's happened to me. For as excruciating and hard and arduous and everything that this has been, for me, this has been a time to slow down, to rethink, to figure out the importance of things in life, to reprioritize, reinvent once again, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. But the most important part is that we have an ability to elevate and we have an ability to rise above, level up the frequency, as I mentioned, of where the condition is that we are at. And so that's what's exciting to me about this is that there are so many more options today, and working with someone like yourself is going to provide those options
Mm-hmm.
to people, maybe in a way that they didn't even realize that they could be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what's exciting to me.
Yeah, and that, piggybacking on that a little bit as well is, this. many, many times when something is as acute as what you're experiencing, it is a marriage of all the different modalities. And, you know, when when people are immediately grasped by fear about something, it's really, you know, our bodies, we, our brain wants us to always feel comfortable. And the minute you start to consider that there might be something wrong, your brain is going to tell you, oh, no, no, you're fine. Because you do get comfortable, even in illness, because you don't want, your brain doesn't want you to feel any kind of pain of change. Change is painful, and not painful in an ouch kind of way, but sometimes painful in a mental kind of way. And so your brain is very geared to keep you comfortable, to keep you feeling like, okay, I'm fine. So recognize it for what it is. It is really false evidence appearing real. That's the acronym of fear. so, so don't let fear make you ignore the call. And, talking about, what you said about the choices that we have now, natural functional health is really starting to take off. When I first started doing this, I had so many eye rolls. People called it voodoo. They called it woo woo. It was like, I had someone say, "Oh, do you have anything in your voodoo bag that I can do?" So, um, but now it really is starting to catch on, and even conventional doctors are starting to accept and work. I have several clients that I work hand in hand with what they're doing with their conventional traditional doctors. With that said, when we start talking about natural modalities, you have to understand that there is something in nature for everything. That's how we were created. And when you use a synthetic form of something, your body doesn't recognize it and it has trouble figuring out what to do with it. But when you introduce something from nature that's naturally derived, then your body immediately knows what to do, and it actually acts as more medicine to get rid of the symptom than what the synthetic is doing to mask the symptom. And that is the biggest difference. And so when you find some kind of natural modality that will do the same thing but get rid of the symptom, that's where you want to go. And that's where your true healing is going to lie. So let's bring Pamela back on, because we got to wrap it up. We got about 2 minutes. Our time always goes so quickly.
So
And I just want to thank you for coming on again today. I know I have her on a lot, but I've been working with her for almost, I think it's been 2 years now, maybe more. And not only has she been my mentor, but throughout our time together and where she's gotten me in my entrepreneur life, um, we have decided that we are going to partner together in a program, which is super exciting. And because Pamela is such a great mindset guru and she can dive into your brain and help you figure out why you do the things you do, why you don't do the things you don't do, and how you can just change your mind to do the hard things. So when you start on a healing journey or a health journey or a longevity journey, whatever it is, that mindset piece is so important. So we have partnered in a program that we are going to start on July 1st or 5th or whatever we decide. And it's going to be a program where you are going to get her mindset expertise. You're going to get my functional lab tests, and you're going to get this whole program around what your lab results are. And that's just about the only thing I'm going to tell you about it, because we're going to be talking about it more and more and getting some real information out there. So, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I would just say that it is something that is not out. You can find a lot of holistic health practitioners, but you've really elevated and really become a concierge for people in their health. And what has is missing in most of those journeys is the work that's involved with how do I embrace the change? How do I embrace the things I'm going through? And that's what the reinvented life and what I've developed is a formula that takes someone through all of that. So it's a support mechanism for the healing journey, as you mentioned. And I could not be more excited about it. I mean, we are going to do this for a limited amount of people. Anyone that wants to can reach out to us. But what I think will be the most exciting part of it is in 6 months, people will be able to look back and see the holistic approach of
Yeah.
how they made those shifts in their health and how they embrace change so it's sustainable.
Yes, it's so exciting. And we're doing it in July because by the time January comes around, when everybody's sitting there going, oh my gosh, I've wasted another year, I'm still where I am. And so by the time January comes around, there's not going to be any resolutions. You're going to have a whole lifestyle that you've created. So, with that said, please answer the call. If something is happening in your body, if you're feeling symptoms, your body is not messing up by any means. All it is giving you a signal, just like your car check engine light, just like the reduced power that goes on. You cannot sustain symptoms and not figure out why they're happening. And so if your health is calling, please answer it. Remember, your health is not a hobby. You have one life, and let's make it a really, really good one, a long one where you have energy and vitality. So, thank you, Pamela, for coming on today. Appreciate you so much. And thank you for watching. Again, YouTube, the Reinvented Life Network. Hello, Your Health is Calling. Every Thursday morning at 11 Eastern. It's 8 o'clock Pacific. You can like and subscribe so you never miss one. So thanks for watching.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Hello, Your Health is Calling with Sue Kostyk. Remember, your health journey is ongoing, and we're here to support you every step of the way. If you have any questions, insights, or stories to share, don't hesitate to reach out. You can connect with us on social media or call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A. Together, we're transforming lives and embracing holistic well-being. Until next time, prioritize your health and remember, your health is calling.